determine if a 293-foot distance will result in excessive voltage drop, we need to perform voltage drop calculations. The formula for voltage drop is voltage drop equals distance times resistance times current, where distance is the length of the wire in feet, resistance is the resistance of the wire in ohms per foot, and current is the current flowing through the wire in amps. The resistance of a wire depends on its length, material, and cross-sectional area. For a 200 amp service, the recommended wire size is number 4 American wire gauge aluminum or number 2 American wire gauge copper. The resistance of number 4 American wire gauge aluminum is 0.7 ohms per foot, while the resistance of number 2 American wire gauge copper is 0.5 ohms per foot. The current draw for a single-family residence can vary depending on the occupant's lifestyle and the size of the home. However, for a 200 amp service, a typical average current draw can be estimated at 100 amps. Using number 4 American wire gauge aluminum wire with a resistance of 0.7 ohms per foot and an average current draw of 100 amps, we can calculate the voltage drop for a 293-foot distance as follows. Voltage drop equals 293 feet times 0.7 ohms per foot times 100 amps. Voltage drop equals 20.51 volts. The National Electrical Code, or NEC, allows for a maximum voltage drop of 5% for residential branch circuits. For a 120-volt circuit, this translates to a maximum allowable voltage drop of 6 volts. For a 240-volt circuit, the maximum allowable voltage drop is 12 volts. Based on the voltage drop calculations, a 293-foot distance between the remote meter and the service panel for a 200 amp service with number 4 American wire gauge aluminum wire and an average current draw of 100 amps would result in a voltage drop of 20.51 volts. This exceeds the NEC allowable voltage drop of 6 volts for a 120-volt circuit. Therefore, it is not advisable to proceed with the installation with the current 293-foot distance. The remote meter should be moved closer to the service panel, or the wire size should be increased to reduce the resistance and minimize the voltage drop. To expand on the voltage drop calculation and its implications for the installation, let's delve into some additional considerations. Firstly, understanding the impact of different wire materials is crucial. While number 4 American wire gauge aluminum and number 2 American wire gauge copper are common choices for 200 amp service, their conductivity varies. Copper offers lower resistance compared to aluminum for the same gauge, meaning it will exhibit less voltage drop over a given distance. If the client is hesitant to move the meter, exploring the use of copper conductors could be a viable alternative, although it may come with a higher material cost. Secondly, the estimated current draw of 100 amps is an average. The actual current draw can fluctuate significantly depending on the time of day, season, and the specific appliances and equipment in use. During peak demand, such as when air conditioning units, electric heaters, and multiple appliances are running simultaneously, the current draw could easily exceed 100 amps. It's essential to consider a realistic maximum current draw to ensure the voltage drop calculation accurately reflects potential worst-case scenarios. Thirdly, the NEC provides guidelines for voltage drop in branch circuits and feeders. While a 5% voltage drop is generally acceptable, it's important to note that this is a maximum limit. Minimizing voltage drop is always desirable, as it improves the efficiency and performance of electrical equipment. Excessive voltage drop can lead to reduced lighting brightness, slower motor speeds, and potential overheating of appliances. Fourthly, several factors influence the resistance of a conductor, including its temperature. As the temperature of a wire increases, its resistance also increases. This effect is more pronounced in aluminum conductors compared to copper conductors. Therefore, it's crucial to consider the ambient temperature in which the conductors will be installed. In hot climates, the resistance of the conductors may be significantly higher, leading to increased voltage drop. Fifthly, the voltage drop calculation presented is a simplified version. In reality, the voltage drop is influenced by both the resistance and reactance of the conductors. Reactance is a measure of the opposition to the flow of alternating current due to the inductance and capacitance of the conductors. The longer conductor runs, reactance becomes more significant and should be factored into the voltage drop calculation. Sixthly, various online voltage drop calculators are available that can simplify the calculation process. These calculators typically require inputs such as wire size, material, distance, current, and voltage. They then provide an estimated voltage drop based on these parameters. While these calculators can be helpful, it's essential to understand the underlying principles and assumptions behind them. Seventhly, if moving the meter is not feasible and increasing the wire size is cost prohibitive, consider alternative solutions such as installing a subpanel closer to the load center. A subpanel allows for shorter conductor runs, reducing voltage drop. However, it's crucial to ensure that the subpanel is properly sized and installed in accordance with the NEC. Eighthly, it's always recommended to consult with a qualified electrician to perform a thorough voltage drop analysis and ensure that the electrical installation complies with all applicable codes and standards. An electrician can assess the specific requirements of the installation, taking into account factors such as load calculations, conductor rating, and ambient temperature. Ninthly, proper grounding and bonding are essential for electrical safety. Grounding provides a low impedance path for fault currents, while bonding ensures that all metal parts of the electrical system are at the same potential. These measures help to protect against electrical shock hazards and prevent damage to equipment. Tenthly, surge protection is another important consideration, particularly in areas prone to lightning strikes or power surges. Surge protective devices, or SPDs, can help to protect sensitive electronic equipment from voltage spikes. Installing a SPD at the service entrance and at subpanels can provide comprehensive surge protection. 11thly, arc fault circuit interrupters, or FSIs, are required in many residential circuits to protect against arc faults, which are a common cause of electrical fires. FSIs detect the unique characteristics of arc faults and quickly interrupt the circuit, preventing a fire from starting. 12thly, ground fault circuit interrupters, or GFCIs, are required in wet locations such as bathrooms, kitchens, and outdoor areas to protect against ground faults. GFCIs detect even small leakage currents to ground and quickly interrupt the circuit, preventing electrical shock. 13thly, tamper-resistant receptacles are required in dwelling units to protect children from inserting objects into the receptacle slot. These receptacles have internal shutters that prevent access to the slots unless a two-pronged plug is inserted. 14thly, smoke detectors are required in all dwelling units to provide early warning of a fire. Smoke detectors should be installed on every level of the home and in each bedroom. 15thly, carbon monoxide detectors are required in many jurisdictions to protect against carbon monoxide poisoning. Carbon monoxide is a colorless, odorless gas that can be deadly. Carbon monoxide detectors should be installed near sleeping areas. 16thly, electrical panels should be properly labeled to identify the circuits they serve. This makes it easier to locate and energize circuits for maintenance or repairs. 17thly, electrical work should always be performed by qualified individuals who are familiar with the NEC and local electrical codes. Improper electrical work can be dangerous and can lead to fires, shocks, and other hazards. 18thly, regular electrical inspections can help to identify potential problems and ensure that the electrical system is safe and up to code. Electrical inspections should be performed by qualified inspectors who are certified by a recognized organization. 19thly, it's important to keep electrical panels and equipment clean and free of obstructions. Dust, dirt, and debris can accumulate and cause overheating or other problems. 20thly, never overload electrical circuits. Overloading a circuit can cause the wires to overheat and potentially start a fire. 21st, use extension cords sparingly and never run them under rugs or furniture. Extension cords can overheat if they are overloaded or damaged. 22nd, replace any damaged or frayed electrical cords immediately. Damaged cords can pose a shock or fire hazard. 23rd, be careful when working near electrical wires or equipment. Always to energize the circuit before working on it. 24th, If you are not comfortable working with electricity, call a qualified electrician. Electricity can be dangerous, and it's always best to err on the side of caution. 25th, consider the long-term implications of the electrical design. Ensure that the system is capable of meeting the future needs of the home. 26th, choose energy-efficient appliances and lighting fixtures to reduce energy consumption and lower utility bills. 27th, consider installing a smart home system to automate lighting, temperature, and other electrical functions. Smart home systems can improve energy efficiency and convenience. 28th, provide adequate ventilation for electrical equipment to prevent overheating. Overheating can damage equipment and reduce its lifespan. 29th, use proper wire connectors and terminations to ensure secure and reliable connections. Loose or corroded connections can cause voltage drop and other problems. 30th, protect electrical wires and cables from physical damage. Use conduit or other protective measures to prevent damage from impact, abrasion, or moisture. 31st, consider the aesthetics of the electrical installation. Conceal wires and equipment whenever possible to create a clean and professional appearance. 32nd, document the electrical installation with accurate drawings and diagrams. This will be helpful for future maintenance and repairs. 33rd, keep a record of all electrical work performed in the home. This will be helpful for future reference and for resale purposes. 34th, follow all manufacturer's instructions when installing electrical equipment. This will ensure that the equipment is installed properly and safely. 35th, be aware of the potential hazards of electricity and take precautions to protect yourself and others. Electricity can be a valuable resource, but it can also be dangerous if not handled properly.